You're right on time for Hope TV Newswatch on this 24th day of June 2025. A very good evening to you wherever you're watching us from, and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Kennedy Kimani. The country is tense tonight as fresh protests led by the Gen Z are set to take place tomorrow. The demonstrations come exactly 1 year after protesters stormed Parliament, triggering police violence during nationwide unrest over the controversial Finance Bill 2024. Thousands
For
are expected
many, Wednesday's
to
march represent more than
return
just
to the streets for what organizers are calling a memorial march, honoring those who lost their lives during last year's protest. Our very own reporter Dolly Murigimbuvi begins our bulletin with the following report.
For many, Wednesday's march represent more than just remembrance. It's about unfinished business. According to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, at least 60 protesters lost their lives during the last year's demonstration, with over 80 allegedly abducted by individuals believed to be security agents. On June 25th last year, Gen Z protesters broke into Parliament building after MPs passed the controversial tax-heavy finance bill. The violence and chaos that erupted marked one of the most traumatic political moments in Kenya's recent history. While the protests on the June 25th will mark the first anniversary of last year's deadly events, they are also fueled by new grievances, particularly for pressing issues. A new finance bill. 12 months after the violence that followed the 2024 finance bill, the William Ruto administration has brought back a revised version for 2025. It suggests new taxes on essential goods like bread, mobile money transaction, and internet data, raising accusation that the government has ignored the very demands that sparked the last year's unrest. Police brutality. Earlier this month, a 31-year-old teacher and blogger Albert Ojwang died in police custody after being detained over a critical social media post. Public pressure led to 3 officers being charged with murder. In another case, Boniface Kariuki, a street hawker in Nairobi, remains in intensive care after being shot by police last week. This incident has deepened mistrust in state institutions, democratic backsliding. President Ruto's recent comment suggesting he would not give up power to the opposition is what appeared as a ridicule of his opposers, terming them as tribalists with no plan, having raised serious concerns in the country as the president, who once campaigned as a reformer, is now setting the stage for a contentious election and what some Kenyans are viewing as unconstitutional power grab. Economic crisis. Still on the same note, Kenya cry foul of a high cost of living, with nothing seeming to change, angered by corruption and misuse of country's funds, and also contribute to harsh economic times. Despite last week's protests turning violent after attacks by goons with whips and batons, allegedly backed by authorities, protests are expected in major cities of Nairobi, Mombasa, Kisumu, Nakuru, and Eldoret. Organizers have called for a peaceful flower and flag march, but fear of state infiltration still remains high. Dolly Murigimbuvi for Hope TV.
Thank you so much, Dolly, for that report. Meanwhile, President William Ruto has warned against any disruption of peace during the planned June 25th protest. Speaking at State House, Nairobi, the head of state urged Kenyans to respect the police, calling them the most professional in the region. Meanwhile, Interior Cabinet Secretary Kipchumba Murkomen echoed the call for restraint, saying the government has shown leniency, even as citizens express controversial views freely online and march near State House, unlike in other countries where crackdowns are swift.
Nobody is above the law. None of us is above the law. You cannot intimidate the police. You cannot use force against the police, or insult, or threaten the police. You are threatening our nation. Because these are our frontline defenders.
It is only in Kenya where a citizen will say they will invade parliament, they will invade the judiciary, they will visit State House, and they still walk scot-free, not charged, and even when they are taken to court, Your Excellency, they will be released on, and they are told you can just go home for free. Kenyans need to appreciate that it is important to have the discipline that these men and women have. It's important to protect your nation.
Moving on swiftly, and the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops has urged the government to listen to the voices of the youth ahead of Wednesday's Gen Z-led protest. In a joint statement, the bishops warned against violent crackdowns, saying suppressing peaceful demonstrations could push the country into deeper crisis. They condemned police brutality, abductions and killings linked to the 2024 protest, calling them a moral failure.
And especially young people must be allowed to express themselves without fear. Speaking truth to power is a service to the nation, not an act of rebellion. We must not threaten dissenters with death. We must change our political discourse from insulting, dismissive, arrogant statements to constructive and respectful exchanges, regardless of our political position or persuasion. We must stop threatening one another or playing games with death threats.
We reaffirm the sanctity of every human life, the urgency of justice, and the value of peace. That next Sunday, in all our churches, we offer prayers for the young people who died and for all the others who have lost their lives. May God bless Kenya.
Now, youth in Uasin Gishu County are divided over the planned Gen Z protest set for tomorrow. While some in Eldoret say there will be no demonstrations, others insist they'll join the nationwide call, marking a year since the anti-finance bill protest. Organizers in the region, which is President William Ruto's political stronghold, have pledged peaceful action and warned against any violence. Uasin Gishu County Police Commander Benjamin Mwanthi, however, says no official notice has been received and they are not expecting protest in Eldoret.
Constituency. Tuko hapa leo kuambia vijana, let's do peaceful demonstration in celebrating our dear brothers and sisters who lost their lives while we were liberating our country from impunity. So leo tuko hapa pia kuambia vijana, tafadhalini tusikubali kutumika na viongozi. Tuliona last week kuna wale ambao walitumwa town Nairobi, and they really caused a lot of havoc and destruction. So tomorrow it will be a peaceful march, and anywhere mali mtakuwa mnaandamana, tafadhalini usiguze mali ya mwananchi mwenzako. We are here with the agenda: freedom for the youth, freedom for the common mwananchi.
Siku ya leo tungependa kuwaomba wale vijana kutoka counties zingine hapa Kenya mzima. Kuna njia mingi ya kutatua solution, ama kuna solution mingi hapa Kenya ambayo sio lazima ikuwe maandamano. Tusiende kwa streets, kwenda kuharibu property ya watu, kwenda kupigana na watu, tuwawe, kesho baadaye ni mzazi wako ataenda kuumia.
Na we set the record straight ya kwamba tomorrow we will be moving with peace. Hakuna mtu yote atavunjiwa mali yake, na sisi kama vijana wote tumeshikana ya kwamba amani ndio kitu ya mwisho. Nchi hii tukiharibu na wakora ambao wanataka waingie kuvunja mali ya watu, we are condemning it because we are the future. Youth for youth, sisi ndio ambao nchi inangoja miaka zijazo.
Kitu yote yenye inafanyika lazima tupate suluhisho kabla kitu chochote. And we also join our fellow Gen Zs on tomorrow as we are celebrating the anniversary of our fallen soldiers wenye walikufa wakipigania uhuru ya nchi.
All right, crossing borders now, and Ugandan President Yoweri Kaguta Museveni is set to seek re-election in the upcoming elections scheduled for January 2026, a move that will extend his nearly 4-decade rule. A senior NRM official confirmed that the 80-year-old leader will pick his nomination forms on June 28th, as shown in a video shared by Uganda Broadcasting Corporation. Museveni has been in power since 1986, with the constitutional changes paving the way for his continued leadership. US President Donald Trump has issued a sharp warning to Israel against escalating attacks on Iran just hours after claiming A ceasefire had been established between the two nations. Using strong language, Trump condemned both sides amid accusations that each breached the US and Qatar-mediated truce. The tense standoff follows Israel's claims of Iranian violations and vows of powerful strikes, while Tehran denies any missile launches and warns of retaliation against further Israeli aggression. It is exactly 12 minutes past the top of the hour. Time now for a short break, but immediately after, I'll be back with the business and sports news. Stick around.
Rafiki soul is the promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond watangaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful, ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful, ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki soul is a promise of a hand that reaches and goes beyond watangaza tumaini kote. I'm forever grateful, ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. I'm forever grateful, ninashukuru ukarimu, ukarimu. Rafiki msoul.
Friends of Hope, keeping hope alive.
Are you in business or agribusiness? Then this is your moment. This June from the 26th to the 28th, Sitim Karen will host the 6th CBF Global Conference and Expo, Africa's premier kingdom business gathering, themed the Eden Mandate. The conference brings together voices shaping faith and enterprise. Hear from keynote speakers like Nick Bridge, a business theologian from the United States, Alan Kilavuka, CEO of Kenya Airways, Bishop Robert Bemba, an agribusiness pioneer from Liberia, and Betty Kibara, director at the Rockefeller Foundation. Come learn, connect, and grow. Get your tickets for just 2,000 shillings. Visit cbf.sitam.org to register or WhatsApp 0718-229-390 for details. The Eden Mandate. It's time to tend, keep, and thrive.
Welcome back. Now let's get down to business. And President William Ruto chaired a cabinet meeting today at State House, Nairobi, where they approved the government-owned enterprises bill to improve leadership in state corporations. They also approved upgrading Nairobi's northern bypass to ease traffic and a major project to modernize Nairobi Railway City into a high-capacity transport hub. Affordable housing regulations were endorsed, lowering deposits from 10% to 5% to boost home ownership. The Public Procurement Amendment Bill was also passed, making e-procurement mandatory and supporting local businesses. To fight substance abuse, a new national policy was adopted to restrict alcohol sales and strengthen prevention efforts. Finally, the Cabinet approved a major STEM education project to improve university facilities and boost youth skills. Moving on swiftly, and Kenya's rising debt burden is unsustainable and heading toward a breaking point unless urgent reforms are made. This is according to the Executive Director for the International Budget Partnership Kenya, Dr. Abraham Rugo, speaking during a Finance Bill 2025 webinar hosted by the Social Action, Advocacy and Governance Ministry at CITAM. Dr. Rugo urged the government to consider restructuring the public debt with longer repayment periods and to rein in new borrowing, warning of a looming crisis if no action is taken.
I've been asked a very simple question. So what is the difference between exemption and in terms of exempting or zero rating? When you look at this one basically affects the VAT law. So when we are dealing with zero rating and exempting, we are basically dealing with how do we treat certain supplies or certain goods and services in terms of in respect to exemption and zero rating. Basically, when you look at the general principles on how a VAT act should be or a VAT law should be, is that when we're dealing with exports, basically you should zero rate them, because basically it's the principle that we are dealing with what we call a destination principle, which is basically that it will be taxed on the other side. When it goes to the other customs of another jurisdiction or another country, then when it's being received or being imported in that country, then it's taxed in that country. So why you tax at a 0%, which is basically zero, which is zero rating basically, because we have only two rates. We have 16%, which is a standard rate, and 0%, then exempt is not a rate, basically. The second thing about zero rating is that when your product is zero rated, basically you will have to claim all the VAT that you've incurred for producing that item. So if you are producing, for example, bread basically there are a lot of things or ingredients or whatever that you use to manufacture that bread. So you will have electricity coming in, you will have maybe you have a commercial building that you've rent, you will have water, probably you've bought water to mix, and many other things to make the bread. So when you're making the bread, you incur VAT on these other supplies that makes this component that's bread. That is what you claim, because you are being the final product is taxed at 0%. So it means there's a difference between 0 and 16% of that whatever that you've incurred.
One thing I've learned about leadership, just generally in leadership, the leader is not the smartest person in the room. All right? He's not always the smartest person. When you're a leader, your strength is in the ability to be able to harness the gifts around you. It's the same thing in the family. All right? Like I said, your wife is a very smart person. So you don't shut her down. All right? But you allow her to, you pick those ideas, you discuss them, and one of you make them your own.
Definitely.
It's like even in any organization, as the CEO, for example, you're not necessarily the smartest person in that organization, but you get around yourself people who are smart, people who are good in what they do, and then you take all those ideas and then you lead. And guess who takes credit at the end of the day? You take the credit at the end of the day. Because you're the leader.
You're the leader.
Isn't it? You know. So that's what leadership is all about. So being able to also just harness all those gifts that God has given you through your wife and one of you, but being able to chart the way forward.
Men on Record, every Friday at 7 p.m.
And to some sporting action now. In a historic moment at State House, Nairobi, President William Ruto hosted the Kenya Police men's and the Police Bullet women's football teams to celebrate their joint league victories, marking the first time both titles have been won by teams from the same institution. The head of state praised their discipline and teamwork, pledging more investment in sports and youth development.
And this is a testament, Your Excellency, to that vision. And as a ministry, we are very happy because the two teams make a huge contribution to the national team. As we celebrate, we are also in line with playing for the Africa Champions in August. And I know that the Harambee Stars, there will be a lot of contribution from Kenya Police Service. The best strikers that we have come from Police FC. and therefore we are very, very proud, Your Excellency, but also looking forward to ensure that we streamline the Kenya Premier League to make sure that we have more talents that are coming up. And through the leadership of FKF, already a lot is happening, to ensure that we make.
And it is the reason why among my first assignments as president was to look at the terms of service and emoluments of our policemen, of our prisons, NYS, and serving police security officers in that space. We are making steady progress in improving the terms of service of our policemen and women, including all the other security agencies in prison, in NYS, and in the other sectors. And it is also the reason why I have taken the firm position.
Moving on swiftly, and the KCB has boosted Kenya's athletics scene with the 8 million shilling sponsorship to Athletics Kenya aimed at supporting 2 major events on the 2025 calendar. The funding will cover the National Athletics Championships set for June 25th to 27th in Nairobi and the World Championships trials on the 1st and 2nd of August at Nyayo Stadium.
This commitment is really rooted in our deep social conviction that we have a responsibility to give back to the communities we serve in line with our brand purpose, for people for better. Last year, through the KCB Foundation, we welcomed 50 gifted, truly gifted student athletes into our annual education scholarship program, granting them full sponsorship to pursue their secondary education and tertiary education. And these students are drawn from 12 counties across Kenya. They were placed in various secondary schools, embarking on a 4-year journey where both their academic as well as their athletic ambitions are fully supported.
We are now preparing for the Olympics in 2028 in Los Angeles. But before we get there, we are for the World Championships this year in Tokyo. With the support, Madam, that you have given us today, I can see we are going very far. So thank you very much. But let me take this opportunity to welcome all of you, to invite all of you to come and witness. Now that we are partners, please come and witness the kind of trials that we are going to conduct, so that when they go to Tokyo and you are watching on the TV, at least you are not new to them. So you athletes who are here, we want to wish you well. We want to see that you go and do well when you go there, so that the Kenyans can be happy. This is the second time that we are partnering with KCB. We are so happy that we have managed to get back together, and we are very grateful. I'm sure this will last beyond our ages. So here we have come together as two institutions, Kenya Commercial Bank and Athletics Kenya. We are becoming stronger. We are making Kenya stronger than ever before.
Now, Catherine Wamboi is headed back to the NCBA Golf Series Grand Finale after successfully defending her title as the overall gross lady winner during the 15th qualifying leg held at the Roiro Sports Club. Wamboi had an impressive gross score of 82, securing her spot in the November showdown. The event, so far the biggest in the 2025 series, attracted 270 golfers, including juniors, all vying for glory. Well, with that, we come to the end of our news tonight. Many thanks to you for making time to watch Hope TV Newswatch. On behalf of the amazing team that made this bulletin a success, have yourselves a blessed night. My name is Kennedy Kimani.